What is your relationship with something like faith or God or any of that stuff?
Man.
Like, where are you with that?
So, yeah, I'm not a big, so I grew up in church, in a Baptist church in my hometown, Reidsville, North Carolina, which is a little small town. And I liked going to church, always hated church. I liked going there, always hated it. Like I liked.
Strange. I don't even understand what you're saying.
I liked
church. I hated going.
I like.
You just like the architecture.
I didn't like the show, man. Okay. I didn't like the show. We're back to the show.
But you like the venue.
I like the venue, but I did not like the show.
Okay.
Yeah, like I'm telling you, and I don't know why this is. Even as a kid, like I loved going to church and hanging out with friends, and the social aspect of me and my friends and stuff. I even liked Sunday school, but once I got into the chapel, dude, I didn't want no part. I didn't want to. It was boring. It was fucking boring. It was. Even as a kid, I remember just sitting there like, I can't wait until 12 o'clock. I can't fucking wait. Like the church had barely started. The person, the welcoming person would come on, and welcome everybody to church that day. And I was like, man, when is this going to be over? Like and that's just, I don't know. That's how I'm wired. It's like, I want to, and I've had faith moments in my lifetime. I've had not that many, but a few. When I was like two or so, I got a really high fever. That I learned over the years had happened. I got a really high fever and lost consciousness. And my mom. 2? Yeah, when I was like 2, and lost consciousness. My eyes rolled back into my head, and my mom. This is back when you could actually. We were from a small town. You could call the doctor and they would fucking answer the phone. You had the direct home number. And so my mom calls the doctor and he says, you got to get him in an ice bath. Take all the ice, everything frozen out of the freezer, throw it in a tub, put water in there and immerse him. And so I had a moment where I left the house. I remember coming through the roof and going up into the sky.
What?
Yeah, dude, going up. This is I think is my first memory of
this. Is an insane first memory.
I go up through the roof. I remember looking down onto. We had like a ranch, a brick ranch, going up in the sky, up, and I could see a car fucking flying on the dirt road, pulling into the driveway, and I could see the whole schematic of the land underneath. It was like, I got maybe probably, I don't know, 1,000 feet up, and then fucking boom. And that's the last of the memory, gone. So that's one faith moment that I've had. I should believe after that. I should be 100% fucking,
yeah,
God is real after that, right?
Yeah. Because as a 2-year-old, like, why would you even have some sort of conception?
How would I know
of that for it to be an illusion?
How would I know what the fucking top of my house looked like, and
right.
the grid of the land underneath it, and so one argument is, well, you're older, you've walked those grounds before, you've walked that land as a kid, playing with your dogs and shit like that. Of course, you know the schematic, but it wouldn't be in that memory. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wouldn't. I wouldn't know what a fucking shingle. They were gray shingles on a brick ranch house, and I was coming up, and I could see the fucking trees. And we lived on a tobacco farm, so I could see the tobacco back. So the argument would be, well, you made that memory over the course of your lifetime, but no, that memory only lasted about 5 seconds. But I saw that in that memory, so there's no way I could have inserted it. So logically, I should know that was a moment where I was fucking ascending, and you can call it whatever you want to, your soul ascending or whatever, but I could still see the land. And so I should 100% be, passing that message on. There was the second time that I had years later, probably, I don't know, maybe even like 12 years ago, but I was riding a bicycle and through Forest Hills here in town, right? Riding my bike, and there's a person that we had a falling out years ago, just complete fucking fallout, and the disdain that I have over that situation, the fucking anger, like, you know how like you get an anger in you and it just fucking the seed plants and it fucking grows and grows and grows and becomes a giant forest of anger for somebody or something or whatever, and you know, you just don't let it go, and then every time you think about it, you're fertilizing that seed or that plant, and it's just taken over everything, and you don't think about that seed a lot, but whenever you do, you go right back to that moment and you just fucking hate that person, right? And I was riding my bike through Forest Hills, and I just felt this wave of fucking love come over me. Like, I'm just riding my bike, dude, in the daytime. It was so warm. It was unbelievably nothing I've ever felt in my entire life. Just this fucking energy of warmth and love and compassion. And I turn, and there's this house with a giant brick wall, and I turn the corner, and that person is literally just on the other side of that wall, biking my way. And we fucking pass. And the whole time, there was so much, I started almost fucking crying, dude. It felt like the greatest love that, it was like an embrace that just fucking, somebody had you in, and it was like nothing matters. Yeah. Absolutely nothing matters. We passed, and fucking, it was all the way through that passing. We didn't say shit to each other. I went down the road about a half a block, dude, and I was like, what the fuck was that? And then I remembered, you know, that anger, and I was like, you know what? That shit don't matter. Yeah. Nothing fucking matters, dude. Nothing matters. And in that one moment, I felt like that was an embrace of faith, or whatever you want to call it. That was just a fucking
God's love.
That was
moving
something,
through your bones.
dude. It was something weird, but it was like I hadn't seen her, so where did it come from? And then afterward, none of that mattered anymore. And I've never been mad at her since. And I didn't even mean to say a gender, but you know, just talking about it just slipped out. But I have no animosity towards that person. No hatred, no nothing, no anger. Yeah. Nothing. I'd fucking give him a giant hug, you know, if I saw him today. And I'm not going to initiate the apology. But you
got to draw a line somewhere, don't you?
But anyway, so I've had two kind of what I feel to be faith. But as far as it goes,
overall, you don't feel like you believe in a higher power.
Man, I feel like I'm doing something with this job. As far as I feel like I'm doing something on stage, making people laugh. I feel the need to give, whatever that power is. I don't fucking know. I don't know where it comes from, but I feel the need to fix. I feel the need to give. I feel the need to care. I feel the need, even when I forget and I turn into a big. I don't want anybody to think I'm not like this 24/7, dude. I'm like this just because we're talking about it, right? Like, you know. But I think my whole inner being is that I want to care and I want to give, and whatever that is in the moment or long term or whatever. But as far as faith goes, dude, I go back and forth sometimes. If I go back and forth, it makes me lean towards it. Yeah. But then I'm immediately back on the fuck that. It's too much. It's too much that's not, you know, right about it.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I'm kind of getting is that you have a version of agnosticism, but also it sounds more like what you're saying is like, it's like this humble admission of like, I don't understand. Sure. I don't understand it. And I've had these moments that like seem to give me an experience that show me it's real, but I still remain on the fence because I truly don't know.
Yeah. And I hope the fact that if I get it wrong, if I never have a right answer and I get it fucking wrong, It's understood when I get there. And the burden that we put on everybody of believing is not even a burden at all. If we go somewhere else, it's not. When we get there, it's like, that wasn't even a thing. That was some shit you guys made up. Yeah. That's some shit you guys put on yourself. And an unnecessary evil that you made your kids think.
Yeah. There's certainly toxic versions of a thing that's meant to be good.
Sure. And I hope it doesn't matter at all. And everybody's just fucking hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But who knows? I don't know. And who am I to tell you?
Yeah.
Right? I remember the first thing I ever heard in church in Sunday school was like, don't question God. And I was like, why? I said it out loud, dude. I got in trouble for fucking saying it. But that was my whole, I've been pushing back my whole life for whatever reason. I don't know. I'm not trying to push back,
but the rebellious nature of the artist.
I guess.
Yeah.
But how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about this a little bit, and I've had quite an arc. Raised in a household that was kind of, I would say overall Christian, but in a passive sense. Like my grandpa was really the only one that really liked going to church. My grandma was supportive of it and would go, and my mom didn't really care for church so much, and so once I was completely under her roof and not like the whole roof of the grandparents' up house, then it was kind of like, all right, we don't go to church anymore. And then once I reached middle school, I watched Bill Maher's Religulous documentary. A friend recommended it to me. And then I just kind of became atheistic on the spot. It was like, okay, well, they can't all be right, so none of them are.
Right.
And then I talk about this moment I had towards the end of college in 2017 that I refer to as, because I don't really know better words for it, but like some version of a spiritual awakening. And it was more waking up to the I don't know, truly, and to believe that there isn't a God is still a belief.
Sure.
And all there really is belief in, and that there's an infinite possibility, and that there's such a small like ability to perceive and understand that's like in the context of being a human being.
Sure.
And so it's just suddenly seeing that boundary and realizing I can't possibly know, and it could be nothing, or it could be all of the things all at once. I really don't understand the nature of reality in full, and I can't.
Yeah.
And so I think from there, and then a revelation I very recently had, I talked about briefly on the last podcast, but it was, so around that time, it was basically, I suddenly started to have respect for religions that I didn't have before.
Sure.
And understanding, like, from a utilitarian point of view, like, I bet it probably is a good thing to actually believe, even blindly, in many cases, in a religion. I bet that there are features that, like, it enhances your thinking and emotions and behaviors in a way. If you are living in fear of a God that will punish you eternally if you do not behave in line with these thought out moral values, like even if you blindly believe that, and you don't have some sort of sophisticated meta understanding of that, it can make you a better person in society, and many people at large in that way. And I think I had that understanding suddenly, but what it's come around to is realizing that I'm not so sure that this utilitarian meta understanding is enough. I'm not so sure that I believe it's better than an atheist take on it. And I believe maybe it's even better than this sort of passive Christian understanding. Maybe not though.
Right.
Because as a child, I remember praying. I remember believing in a God. I remember behaving in a way to where, like, I was concerned about things like lying, or I can't think of how much negative behavior like entered the child's mind. And I like nipped in the bud. I was like, no, God wouldn't like that. I can't think of much instances like that. But I have realized, like, from a emotional and internal and like outlook on the world, and like having faith in like my future, like the future of my life and the future and my relationships with people and people as a whole, Earth and the planet as a whole. I feel like I've recognized this overlap in not having faith in God is synonymous with not having faith in all of those things at once.
Right.
And in this moment of like a marijuana induced panic attack, I like realize that, like, this utilitarian view is not enough. How would it feel if I actually believed, and can I even humor that? And I think I entered a space very briefly. It was like, I understand. I'm now from a place of thinking it would be a good idea to believe in God to now, like, I believe it would be a good idea to believe in God fully and truly.
Sure.
I don't know if I do. I don't think I'm not so sure I do, but I think I want to.
And I think that's great. I think it's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Because I hear what you're saying about, like, almost like it's a better. It makes things better.
Yeah.
To have some
in a
sort
way
of
you can't
faith.
even understand.
It makes it. I think it makes you kind of, not that you have to follow a certain religion, because
Right.
I respect religions. I respect people that are all in believers. I mean, I'm envious of that. It's like, oh wow, like if you've got it really figured out, I'm not going to argue it again. I'm not going to argue into second guessing yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm envious that you can. Just like I envy somebody who at 6 years old knows what they're going to do their whole life, and they do it, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Like I was so far away. I'm still not that person, but I believe in the religion, the good parts of the religions that make people better.
Yeah.
People, what's wrong with that?
Yeah.
You know, I can't wrap my head around a lot of it, but I feel like no matter how long we're here, we're on a journey, and, you know, decisions are based on that journey, and things can change in a moment. You know, beliefs or views. And I think, you know, people evolve all the time. Is like, and that's one thing where people get, you know, they say something one day and then they're a different person the next day. Well, that's just their journey. That now maybe they've done a little research on something, or they see that we're wrong.
Yeah.
Which is great, you know.
In this, so there's like a lot of like non-secular sort of like meditative and spiritual rhetoric that people are more like willing to accept and even like humor and take on, even like atheistic type folks, you know.
Yeah.
So like this idea of being present, like you're familiar with that, right? Like the Eckhart Tolle and meditative sort of being present and not being anxiety for the future or depression about the past or anything about that, you know.
Good luck with that.
Right. Well, to me, and like, you know,
for me anyway.
Yeah, and well, that's the thing. I think a lot of people can like intellectualize the use of presence and maybe even have some sort of non-secular meditation practice to dip their toe into it. But I again, this sort of like shift in this whole like understanding the difference of thinking, believing in God being a good idea versus realizing it would probably be a very different story if I like actually believed.
Right.
I think that this fully believing in God, surrendering to God, surrendering to the higher power, whether that higher power you conceptualize as this personified God you think about as the universe, or you think about as the collective unconscious in some sort of like Carl Jungian psychological terms, whatever it is, you know, all these things I think overlap these ideas, whether they're not exactly the same, but there's overlap. I feel that this fully and truly being present is another thing that is synonymous with this surrender and faith in a higher power.